Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. So I seem to come at you a lot on Wednesdays. I don't know what that's all about, but I've been reading you excerpts from my book. I've read you the preface and the prologue, and now I'm reading a little bit from chapter 1. The working title of the book, the one I've been talking about the most, is Grateful, Faith, Healing, and the Gift of Music. But that's going to change to something I like a lot better. Me and a literary agent that I'm working with right now, we both agree what the title of the book should be, but I'm not ready to release that yet, so... Okay, here's a little bit of chapter 1. It's called Living with Manic Depressive Illness. So let me set it up a little bit. It opens with kind of a lengthy quote. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But one of my favorite authors is Kay Redfield Jamison, and she's lived with bipolar disorder her whole life. And in this particular section of her book, she asks herself the question, if I had the choice, would I live with manic depressive illness? And she basically says, yes, she would, as long as medication works. So medication has worked for her, it's worked for me, and this is why she gave the answer that she did. I honestly believe that as a result of having manic depressive illness, I have felt more things more deeply, had more experiences more intensely, loved more and have been more loved, laughed more often for having cried more often, appreciated more the springs for all the winters. But normal or manic, I have run faster, thought faster, and loved faster than most I know. Professor of psychiatry and author Kay Redfield Jamison beautifully answers a question I've often asked myself. The truth is that I, like Jamison, believe that there have been many blessings which have come to me throughout my lifetime as a result of having manic depressive illness. Well, after all, isn't that how God works? He makes beautiful music out of a nasty mess. I went through hell, but he never left me alone, especially at those times when I could not feel his presence. Eventually, I made it a point to get as educated about my illness as I could. For starters, I asked a lot of questions of my doctors. Once I could put a lucid sentence together. They were helpful, but I had to do more. So I familiarized myself with the bipolar section of the DSM-4, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. I also read 2 of Jamison's books, An Unquiet Mind, Memoirs of Moods and Madness, and Touched with Fire, Manic Depressive Illness and the Artistic Temperament. The former is about her experience living with the disease herself, and the latter explores artists who were afflicted. From composers to poets, she takes us on a detailed journey of their struggle with bipolar disorder or depression alone, and its effect on their creativity. I read Call Me Anna by Patty Duke, which also helped me to come to terms, learning of another artist who fought the battle. As an artist myself, I can tell you that these books have aided me in coming to terms with who I've become following the onset of this aggressive disease. They helped me to gain acceptance and validation. I too have loved more, felt more pain and joy, and have had a much more heightened awareness of my environment. But sometimes this was detrimental because my environment was not always the way it appeared to me. For a long time, I was looking at life through a broken filter. My thoughts were broken. Still, much of what I've felt since my first episode has fueled my creativity and forced me to focus on my craft as a singer, songwriter, and now author. I also have a richer faith life today, but when I was depressed, I could not feel the presence of the Lord. Intellectually, I knew he was there because that's how I was raised, after all. Though I forced myself to go to church, for years I couldn't feel the Holy Spirit. Most of the time, I was impaired and in tears throughout the Catholic Mass, so I stopped going. The disease told me God was not listening. So for years, I did not seek him. That's the very beginning of chapter 1. If you want to learn more about my book, you can go to mariajacobs.com and click on the author tab. I really appreciate you listening. Thanks.